How's it going today, everybody? Today in the shop we got a self-propelled Craftsman front wheel drive lawnmower. Looks like it's got a 6.75 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine. I got this lawnmower last fall from my scrap guy, and since it's coming up on springtime here in southern Ontario, I thought I'd get it out of storage and see if we can get it running. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. So guys, I don't know much about this lawnmower. Like I said, I just got it from my scrap guy, and hopefully it doesn't take too much to get running. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. A nice bagger on it. The bag looks pretty much brand new. Like I said, self-propel. Looks like it maybe is missing a little bit of a shroud piece here. But overall, I think I got another cover, so I could probably swap that out. Looks like a brand new wheel there on the front left side. But overall, looks like it's in pretty good shape. If I can get this thing running, probably can, in the heart of springtime when I'm selling mowers at a rapid pace, probably can get about 150 bucks, 140 bucks for this thing. So let's see if we can get it running. First off, I'm going to check, see if we got any fuel in here. Looks like we got a little bit of fuel. It doesn't smell too bad, actually. Probably sitting, obviously it's been sitting all winter. Let's see if we got what we got for oil here. Yeah, it looks like it's got some, and it doesn't look too bad. So that's looking promising. All right, so what we're gonna do next is I'll just try and get it fired up here and see if it will go. I mean, if we can get it running, just a quick carb clean, sharpen the blade, check the spark plug over, and maybe we get lucky on this one. Wow, how's that for pretty good luck? So I'll have to give a special thanks to my scrap guy next time I see him there for bringing me a lawnmower that actually works. I mean, it started up on the first pull there. So I'll clean her up here and see what we can do with her as far as getting her sold. Alright guys, let's get into her. I'll show you what I do to get things ready for selling lawnmower. Give her a nice tune-up, a nice bath, make her look pretty, and you're going to get the best bang for your buck there when you go to try and sell it. So first things first, I'll take off the air filter. Take a look. This is a 5/16 nut driver, guys. I'll use a 5/16 socket as well. Take a look at that. Actually looks pretty good. Little bit of debris in there. I'll clean that out with the air compressor later on. So that's good. Save us a few bucks there. I take a look inside, and oh, what did you know? Oh, what's going on here? As I suspect, sometimes you get these choke systems that get stuck open. So it must have been closed, and then it opened up while we fired it up, and it warmed up, and now it's stuck in the open position. I'll show you guys what I mean here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but right in here, where I'm pointing my finger, there's a choke. Let's see if I can get a screwdriver here. Right in here. Need some light. Yeah, it might be a little bit better. So right in there is your throttle plate, your choke. And you can see it's wide open. If I went to try and start that again from a cold position, that is not going to start. It has to actually be closed in a closed position like that. So that's closed. It looks like maybe there's something sticky here preventing it from coming back, or the auto choke system on the other side where the exhaust is that heats up might actually not be hooked up correctly. I've seen that before as well. So we'll have to take a look at that, guys. So all right, well, that's one little issue we're gonna have. Let's take a look at the spark plug. It's got, I think it's one of these E3 first fire spark plugs. Not a big fan of those. It looks to be pretty much brand new. So if it is new, I'll just leave it in there. If it was a customer's machine, I would probably change that out, but it looks pretty much brand new. There is some little bit of carbon build up there, not much. I'll just hit that with the wire wheel, and that'll clean right up. I'll make sure I gap it properly to 30 thousandths of an inch using my spark plug gapping tool, and I'll reuse that guy. It is pretty much brand new. So it looks like whoever got rid of this before thought maybe just giving it a new spark plug might bring her back to life, but I suspect there's something going on with that choke system there, and that's probably why they're having a hard time starting it, and they just got rid of it. Good for me, I guess. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is take off this top cover here and see what's going on with that choke system on the other side. There is just two Phillips screws in the top here holding this shroud on. Get that guy out of the way. And then I'm going to have to take off the, I'm actually going to have to undo the gas tank here, take off this top shroud so I can see what's going on with the auto choke here on the other side, see if it's hooked up properly. So we're looking at some 5/16 nuts here in the top for the gas tank. There's 1, 2, 3 of those guys. And then there is another one usually underneath here. That's a 3/8 that I'll need to take off as well. This one's got a spacer sometimes as well that you have to make sure you don't lose. There you go, just like that. So this kind of fits in there, and this is just a spacer. Goes into the bottom side of the tank here. I'll put those together and take this fuel tank off. I'm going to crimp the fuel line using fuel line crimper tool here. And then just to make it a little easier to get at the other end of the fuel line here going into the carburetor, I'm going to take this air cleaner box off as well. And that looks like it is back to the 5/16. Look like 3 5/16 nuts on there. Now there is an air breather connected to the back side here, which just connects to this pipe here. So that just slides right off. There's also a gasket right here on the back side. Sometimes when you have the primer system, if the primer's not working properly, this gasket's either bad or you might be able to double up on the gasket. I've found that that works sometimes. The primer would actually be right in there. So this one is obviously a multi-use one for multiple different machines. This one happens to be the auto choke system. So here's our carburetor here, and it looks pretty green for some stale bad fuel. I'm surprised this thing started, to be honest with you. So I'm going to take off this fuel line clamp here. See, before I get taking the fuel line off, I'm going to put this under here just to catch any fuel, because there will be a little bit of fuel there. Oh, that fuel line was pretty nice. Oh, that fuel looks nice. It's nice and green, almost a greeny color. Tells you that fuel's been there for a while. So there you can see my fuel line clamps actually prevent any of the other fuel coming out. Alright, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 3/8 bolts. Hole in the shroud on here. And there's also a little 5/16 bolt that holds on the oil tube, oil dipstick tube. So you just take that out and you can actually just twist it. I know you can't quite see. Just take this guy out. It was just on here like so. So you can just, sorry about the bad camera work here. So yeah, it just starts out like that. You can just take the bolt out, twist it, and you can leave it attached just at the bottom there in that plug in the hole there. All right. And then we got the 3/8 bolts to come out. I'm just going to put an extension there on my impact. Make it a little easier to get at these back ones. 1, 2, and there's 4. If I said 3, I meant 4. 3, 4. Now this has your starter recoil on it. When I get this off of here, I will also lube up the starter recoil. And what do we got catching here? There we go. And there you have it, the starter recoil there on the bottom. So I'm going to spray some lubricant in here where the dogs or the falls are that come out. Spray some lubricant in there. Spray some lubricant in the inside here where the spring is. And keep that all nice and lubricated so that the next owner doesn't have any issues with it. Alright, so here we got a flywheel and alright. So here's the governor. It's like a wind vane where this thing's spinning. It's going to push this guy out and it'll open that throttle butterfly valve here and allow more air in. And then you'll get more fuel mixing in with that as well. Looks like this thing has a brand new coil, or it's not been used that much. It looks like it's a brand new coil. So that's nice. That's about a $25 part for the non-OEM one. So, and probably double that at least for an OEM part. So, it's just something that seems to be catching. So, oh, it's the coil. It's catching on the coil. On the top of this coil right here. Let me show you. So it's catching right here. Here's your auto choke right here. And this heats up with the muffler and then takes the choke off like that. But this is your governor air vane, and it's actually hitting right here on the edge. I don't know if you can see that. My camera work is awful. This is my first YouTube video. It's actually hitting on this edge, and then once it goes full open, once this auto choke warms up and expands all the way to the open position, it actually moves this air vane all the way up over this little hump, and it's catching there. So what I'll probably end up doing is just, I'm not sure if this is the right coil. It looks like it's working because it obviously ran. So I might just notch this air vane out just a little bit so it doesn't get caught up on there, as you can see. And that should fix that problem. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is, this tune-up, is take the carburetor off here. It looks like 1, 2, 3/8 bolts. Before I do that, there's a little spring here. I'll show you. Alright, so to get this carburetor off, like I say, I got 1 and 2 3/8 bolts here. And I got a couple of spring assemblies. So there's a spring on here for the governor arm. We don't want to lose any of these springs. We don't want to bend them either. So I'll try and be careful. Take that off on the other end and leave it attached, hopefully on this end. In fact, I'll just take it right off, and that way I'll keep it safe. And next there's a spring right here. So again, this is for your choke butterfly valve, and then on the inside, you can't really see it, but there's another butterfly valve in there turning or rotating. And there's a spring attached to that guy too. So this guy, it's a little hard to do with one hand, but see if I can get you on this side. So I kind of bend this. I kind of bend this spring just a little bit. I'm not bending, I'm just bending it momentarily. And like I said, this is hard to do with just one hand. And I'm bending that. And there we go. Just unhook that. And this guy I just leave. Now this little knob here, just a little tip for you guys. If your lawnmower is running too fast or too slow on RPM, you can actually bend this little tab back and forth to adjust the spring tension on here, which will then adjust the RPM on the high end for the RPMs. Now you want to set it right around 3,000 RPM is a good RPM, and I'll show you that later. So here's that auto choke system here, but as you can see, this thing with this ignition coil, I don't know if this is the right one. It has a little bit of a higher hump maybe, or it's a little bit wider, this plastic piece, but you can see it's actually rubbing right there on this arm. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'll just notch a little piece off of this plastic arm here, and that should provide us the clearance so it's not getting hung up on there, and the auto choke system will actually work. Here's the other end. Here's the auto choke system, and it's right next to, as you can see, the muffler. So when this all heats up, this expands and actually drives this guy this way. Okay, and then that's going to take the choke off, and you can see the valve, the butterfly valve, is wide open. That's choke off. Then when I release that, it should spring load back to the closed position, and it's not doing that because you can see it's hung up here. So hung up right there. So if I actually get it back up and over that hump, you'll see that this butterfly valve for the auto choke system is now closed for the next cold start. So that's how we're going to fix that little guy, or that problem.